Morning folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with the Pathfinder School, and I thought what we'd do today is a quick blacksmithing video on how to make fish hooks. And we can use the tools that we already had in our basic toolkit fairly easily to make fish hooks. And fish hooks are something you could definitely forge in a campfire, provided you had the proper material. Finding small enough material that's hard enough to actually make a good fish hook that you can put a barb in is a little difficult. The easiest thing I've found for a small fish hook is a finish nail. You can buy a 3 or 4 finish nail, and you can buy them by the bag fairly cheap. You can also find them anywhere there's an old house or something like that that has molding around the inside of the house. An abandoned house would be a perfect candidate for that. It's going to have finish nails in the molding. You can collect those nails and you can make fish hooks from them. Now, remember that you're trying to match your hook to the fish you're trying to catch. And I've always said that small hooks catch a lot of fish. Big hooks catch big fish. That goes right back to my mentality of I'd rather have a whole mess of 4-inch bluegill right next to the bank than spend hours trying to catch that 1 5-pound bass in the middle of the lake. So I want to make small fish hooks, at least small enough that I can catch panfish on them. And that's a difficult task when it comes to trying to make fish hooks, because something strong enough to hold a fish and not straighten out if it's a bigger fish is difficult to find in thin material by scavenging. Nails are about the best thing I've found. If you compare these nails to money, they are less than the diameter of a penny. I'm going to show you how to make them real quick, real simple, down and dirty with 3 tools. We're going to need our regular pliers that we go to all the time, our little ring pliers that we use for turning, and just a cheap chisel that we can sharpen up to a pretty fine point that's pretty small. And you can get packages of these chisels, and I do it quite a bit, chisels and punches like this at flea markets for $5 or less for 10 different punches, and 10, it'll have 5 chisels, 5 punches, whatever the case may be. And they're basically throwaways to me. I use them, sharpen them a few times until they won't hold an edge anymore, and then I toss them. It's not a big deal. So you're not going to have a whole lot of money invested in making these fish hooks either. And having a few of these small punches and things like that with you will allow you to do a little bit more manipulation with things than you could do normally. And again, it's tool steel, so you could make something else out of it if you needed to in the end. Instead of just tossing it aside, it becomes part of your material to use to make other things. All right, let me get the forge fired up. We're going to heat these nails up, and I'm going to show you how to do this. It's real simple. Stay with me. Okay, remember I said these pliers have a little opening on the front end of them. And I'm going to put my nail in there, and then I'm just going to use my pliers to slowly turn and pull that nail out of the front of these pliers. So let's grab one out of here that's good and hot. And once you get used to manipulating this stuff, it becomes pretty easy. I grab it up by the tip, and I put it inside, and then I just start to slowly turn it, pulling it, drawing it out of the pliers as I turn. And you'll have to experiment with this a little bit to figure out exactly what kind of a turn you want on your hooks. I like mine to have a little bit of a circle to them. There you've got one circle hook. Now let that cool down and make another one. Slide it in all the way down there, just like that. Again, I'm just drawing it out of there as I'm turning it. And when I get it turned in a semicircle there, that's good enough for me. Now that one can be turned just a little bit more. And that's easy enough to do. There we go. You're going to get different hooks. They're not all going to be exactly the same. You're not really using a jig for this. And if you wanted a bigger hook, you just use a bigger nail. But these finished nails are pretty good panfish size hooks when you're done. And you can see all our hooks are a little bit different. Okay, there's 4 hooks. Now let's let those cool down for just a second. All right, I'm trying to get this as close as I can for you guys so you can see it. Now I'm just going to drag those hooks over, and I'm going to put my chisel at an angle backwards, just like this. And I'm going to put it about halfway through the material and just give it a couple good wraps. And this is a little bit tedious because you got to get that chisel just in the right place. Without getting it too deep. And that's going to give you a barb on your hook, and you can see that barb right there. So again, you're going to come in and you're going to put that chisel back just a little bit from the tip. And about halfway across the material. Just wrap it one good time. If you don't get it quite in there good enough to suit your fancy the first time, you can always pop it again. You're not looking for a big huge barb on that thing. You're just looking for something that's going to hold it from coming out of the fish's mouth once he gets the hook in there. It's going to keep it from popping back out. That one came out real good. I can tell by the way it felt. Then you can always come back in here with a file or a stone or whatever and sharpen the tip of this hook up. Okay. Now, you're probably going to make 6 or 8 of these and toss 2 or 3. I would toss that one, and I'd probably keep the other 3. So 3 out of 4 of those hooks are usable hooks to me. Okay, so the next question you're probably going to ask is, hey, that hook don't have an eye on it. How am I supposed to hook that to my line? Well, you hook it to your line just like this, with what's called a barrel knot. And lots of old hooks didn't have eyes on them. They were just a straight shank. Sometimes they were flared on the end. Sometimes they were smashed on the end a little bit to give them kind of a fishtail and bent over even. The good thing about a nail is it has a head on it for pounding anyway, so it gives you that tapered end that you can tie that line to. And the way you tie that barrel knot is pretty simple, but it takes a little bit of manipulation. So what you do is you lay your line across the shank of the hook like this. Then you take 4 turns fairly loosely around the hook. And the reason I say fairly loosely is because you're going to have to come right back through there with this line. So you don't want that thing to be real tight. You're going to cross this over the top of all those lines and come back down through the loops from the top. And you're just going to slide that line right back through the loops. And again, like I said, this takes a little bit of manipulation and a good eye to see what you're doing. And as soon as you see the end of that line poking out, you can kind of draw it through like that. Then you've got a self-tightening barrel knot on here that when you pull everything down good, it's going to constrict around that hook. Then you can cinch it down and pull it up to the top just like that and yank down hard on it, and you can trim off anything that you've got left on the end. And then you want to line that up with the back of that hook so it hangs good and straight just like that, and you're ready to fish. Guys, I appreciate you joining me out here today for this quick video on how to make fish hooks and how to tie those fish hooks to a line. I'm Dave Canterbury at the Pathfinder School, and I appreciate your support. I appreciate your views. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our business, for our family, for all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. And don't forget, this weekend the Pathfinder staff will be at Smoky Mountain Knife Works during their dealer days doing a bushcraft demonstration setup the entire weekend. We'll be doing some blacksmithing, we'll be doing some woodworking, we'll be doing some skinning demonstrations, cooking demonstrations, pack frame demonstrations, birch bark knife sheath demonstrations. bucksaw demonstrations. We're going to do lots and lots of things. Come down and join us. It doesn't cost a thing. All you have to do is take the wife to Pigeon Forge and meet us at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Thanks, guys.